Hey everybody, how are you? This is Mark Chaney. You're tuned into the Mark Channel. Here with a good friend, I'd say even a mentor, Mr. Sam Morell.
That's very kind of you, Mark.
We're here this week at the Atlantic City, the Harrah's Resort Casino for the Eastern Coating Show. Sam's been a consultant, former owner of a distribution company, but really an icon in this coatings industry. And Sam and I have become great friends over the years. Uh, Always great to meet up with him here. And Sam, really want to give you the opportunity on the Mark Channel to tell the industry that doesn't know you, which isn't too many people. Everybody knows Sam. What you're up to.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you, Mark. Well, I appreciate this interview to begin with in the Mark Channel, which I think is a very unique and innovative idea,
Thanks.
considering your name. Yeah, as Mark mentioned, we're here enjoying the Eastern Coating Show in Atlantic City, New Jersey, at the Harrah's Resort Casino. And I'm going to be giving a paper sometime this afternoon on a very esoteric subject called oxidizable phenolic urethanes, which basically is a very interesting resin that can modify any oleoresinous vehicles, meaning alkyds, whether they're long oil or medium oil alkyds, urethane alkyds, oil modified urethanes, to give you low VOC, great scratch resistance, hardness, and fast cure. So that's my topic for this afternoon. And it's always a pleasure for me personally to come down to a lot of these conventions, particularly in the coatings area. I get involved with inks, adhesives, and some rubber and plastics as well. But the coatings industry has been with me for many, many years. In fact, I started when I graduated New York University, chemical engineering as my degree. My first job was with Roman Haas. And so I got involved with a lot of the acrylic emulsion polymers and got to know a little bit about film formation and binders and chemistry of that sort. That was in 1970 after NYU to 73. And then BASF, Badische Aniline Soda Fabrik, and for those people who don't know what that acronym is all about, asked me to get involved with them as well. And for them, it wasn't about the acrylic emulsions. That time it was for a line of surfactants called pluronics, which were block copolymers of ethylene and propylene oxide. So I did that for about 3 years, and then Air Products and Chemicals asked me to get involved, not so much in sales, but in marketing. So I got involved with a specialty line of surfactants at that time called Surfinals, which has done very well over the years. And then back in 1984, I decided to go off on my own and started a small specialty chemicals distribution company, SP Morell and Company. So that was 1984. And so we represented some specialty chemical suppliers that would supply predominantly to the coatings, ink, adhesive, graphic art industries, plastics, a little rubber, and even some personal care products as well. And so 40 years later, I decided to retire. And in that particular time, our sales manager, Yuri Langer, asked to take over the business. So it was a great succession plan for me to get involved with somebody who's been on board for about 10 years. And so I started the consulting firm, sammorell.com, in 2014, and have been doing that since. So Yuri still retains me as a consultant for SP Morell, and I have other clients that I get involved with in terms of new product development, new market development, technical presentations, and things of that sort. So it's been a great ride for almost 50 plus years since I started back in 1970.
You are the icon in the industry, Sam.
Well, I know a lot of people, and when you do a lot of technical presentations or you're involved in the industry as much as long as I have, you get to know a lot of people. And I still do a lot of traveling. So every month I'm somewhere, except for the summer months. Soon I'll be going to Canada for the Canadian Paint and Coatings Association. That's next week, actually.
I'll do my best.
If I certainly will. And then, because you were there last year,
Yeah.
when Quebec City, which was, by the way, my first time in Quebec City. Did you enjoy that or what?
That was like beautiful, that hotel.
And,
It was
and
built
the
in the
city.
1600s,
Yeah.
I believe, yeah.
The Frontenac, right?
So, right.
Right. And I might add, it was my first experience with Quebec City. It's one of the most beautiful cities you'll ever visit. This one is going to be in Niagara on the Lake. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then shortly after that, I'll be going to Cleveland for the Sink and Swim convention. And then I was invited by a major coding company to give some technical presentation to their R&D staff. So that's some of the things that I get involved with. So coatings has been a mainstay for me for many, many years. And as Mark mentioned, I've gotten to know a lot of wonderful people, a lot of wonderful organizations in this industry. Yeah.
Yeah, and Sam, like I said, you've really taken on a lot of. You're like a mentor, right?
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
follow what you've done in your career. I no way I can ever achieve what you have, but it's you pick apart the best aspects and just your demeanor, your marketing approach. I mean, you've really you and I go back and forth on LinkedIn. If you don't follow us, please do. And see the banter this guy and I have. It's
Oh.
hilarious.
Well, you
And
talk about
it's just so personal. You take a digital platform where it's supposed to be a little dry and professional, and we have fun with it.
well,
And I
you
think
talk
that's the
about a
best part.
LinkedIn pro.
Oh
This
yeah,
guy, this Mark over here, I mean, he's also a guru on LinkedIn and a lot of the posts that
yeah,
he does. But that's one of the platforms. I'm not really on a lot of social media. That and YouTube, that's it. I'm
yeah.
not on, Facebook or
Yeah.
Instagram or TikTok or any of that kind of stuff. I try to keep it on a more business level, but it's been good. The one thing I will say, you mentioned about being a mentor. I really believe what the industry requires and needs. We have a lot of young people that's coming into this industry that's been conservative and established for many, many years, obviously, but a lot of good education. I'm a big believer that those people, whether they're in sales or marketing or operations or in R&D, whatever, or even purchasing, the more they understand why products work the way they do, from a chemistry, from a theory, from a mechanism, that's where I think I add my value. I like
Absolutely.
to broadcast and educate and teach people why things work the way they do, as opposed to doing things empirically. Don't get me wrong, it's required. You need to do a lot of empirical work in the laboratory because you've got a lot of variables when you're talking about raw materials that go into a
Right.
coating formulation, for example. But we also want to understand why things work the
Right.
way they do, whether it's surfactants, whether it's rheological agents, whether it's biocides, whether it's an emulsion. And that's where I think I add some value to the industry.
And how Sam explains all of these complex rocket science, physical chemistry concepts. It's like for me, he breaks out the crayons and the construction paper, and I get it.
Right.
But anybody else, if I went to a university class, I'd be lost and hung over. Not with Sam.
Well,
Sam's right to the point, explains it so simply that someone like me can get it, and that's what I really, really appreciate. And I think the industry is better off because you're in that aspect.
Well, I'm a there's a part of me that's on the well, I'm kind of a left brain, right brain kind of guy. They always say the left brain is more technical, the right brain is more creative. I'm a very visual person, and so what I think is important because I appreciate the fact that when somebody teaches me something and demonstrates it with some visual aids,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's animation, whether it's video, whether it's illustrations, whether it's photography, then you get a complex subject, you break it down into its simple components and show it visually, then all of a sudden there's an aha moment. In fact, you saw me yesterday. I was speaking to a gentleman who's the dean of a university,
Yeah, he works
and
here. Yeah.
that's exactly right. And he came to one of our presentations that I did at the Waterborne Symposium about 4 years ago and asked if he could borrow some of the animations that I created. And I do create that with different products. There's an Adobe suite called After Effects, and there's videos with Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve and Illustrator for illustrations and Photoshop for pictures. So he appreciates that. There's been other professors actually who've asked to borrow some of my video or animations for them to show to their class. And I'm honored by that. I'm
Yeah.
actually flattered by the fact that here's academia asking me for some of the animations and videos that I put together for them to show to their class. And some have invited me to come to their universities and talk. So for that, that to me says it all. I enjoy that so much where people are learning about these products.
A little bit more about Sam Morell. Last question. We're going to get kind of personal.
Okay.
Sam is an avid follower of the performing arts. He was actually just involved in a production in his hometown with the city council. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I live in a small little hamlet The hamlet is called Katona, which is in the town of Bedford, which is in the county of Westchester, which is in New York State. And it's a beautiful community. And there was an actual equity theater company called Katona Classic Stage that asked me to be on the board because of my involvement in the community theater when I used to live in Armonk, but that's a long story. Anyway, they wanted me to get involved, and I came up with an idea to get more publicity for them, is to come and approach some of our publicly elected officials in the state of New York, in the county of Westchester, and the town of Bedford. So I was able to get involved. Our state senator, Peter Harcum, got involved. Our county executive, George Latimer, our town supervisor, Ellen Calves, people on the Westchester County Board, on the town board, and on a state level, even a state assembly person, Chris Burdick. And we did a Neil Simon comedy called The Prisoner of Second Avenue. So all of these folks who don't have theatrical backgrounds, I mean, they're good as a public official, this was kind of gutsy for them to do that. And the way I convinced them was, it's an election year. If they want their constituents to see them in a role that they've never seen them before, I think that I would vote for someone like that, because it just demonstrates their involvement with the community. And for that alone, they loved it. I was telling Mark about 5 minutes ago, so we ended up with a full house because they knew a lot of people, and we ended up with a standing ovation. And they said, Sam, when are we going to do this again next? So I know it was good for everybody on stage and off stage to get involved with that platform.
So yeah, Sam Morell, just instrumental driver in the community and at home and in the industry.
Mark, thank you so much, my
pleasure.
Friend. Absolutely. And
love hanging out with you. So
and thank
appreciate
you
coming in, Mark Channel.
Absolutely, Mark.
Have a good one.
Cheers.